Hello, it's me, and I've had some recent requests to show a demonstration tutorial on this Pritchard's Insanity Cube. So I figured, well, as we're all in isolation, why not? Let's pull this out and see what we can do with this. It's been a while since I've taken a look at this, so let's see if I can kind of refresh my memory on this. So this is one of those puzzles that are a little limited in terms of how much you can scramble, and thus limited in terms of what kind of algorithms you can use. And really, there's not a whole lot more than you can do than R moves and up moves. So that's the good news with this. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of go through a series of algorithms in the opposite order that I solve this, just to sort of go through what we need to do to get this solved. But you'll see that there's some limitations in terms of how to scramble it. I'd say that this puzzle is long on algorithms and short on strategy, but there is some, and the algorithms really aren't too bad. So the first thing to look at is, is the last thing that I do, which is getting these long wedges in, these long corners in. So you've got these corners that are bisected into two parts. I guess you can look at these as edges here, and these are small corners, and this is long corners, and the center. Now the centers don't scramble, they just rotate. So looking at this, if I can find how it turns, there it is. So you see, it just rotates. Okay, so what we'll do is I'm going to define this as an R move and this as a U move. Now instead of going R2 or U2 or something like that, oftentimes I'll do an R move only until I can actually do a U move. And sometimes it'll be a much longer R move than before. But what this is going to do is it's going to move these edges around here, rather. It's going to move these corners around, but it's hard to call them corners. They're more like edges in terms of their positioning. So what this is going to be is we're going to do a R, UI, RI, and that puts this here. What we're then going to do is, see how this is the front? The back part of the puzzle, that's now going to be my top. So I'm going to now move it like this, so that this wedge that's out is now the top. Now my R move is going to be just a tiny little move like that. So that's my R move. So this will be R, and we're going to do a U. I guess you can call that a 2U, but it's a U up until I can do another R, which is right here. And then we're going to do another R move, but only up until I can do another U move. So it's not here. So it's going to be another U. Now we'll do another U move here, another R move, another U move, another R move. Now I'm not going to stop here. I'm going to do an R move until this long wedge is in, a U move, and then we'll just put this back. You can say it's an RI, but we can keep turning this until this is down. Now notice I didn't say 2R, I just kept saying R move and U move, and that's really how I remember this, is I just keep doing those moves until I can do a U move. R's until I can do a U, U until I can do an R. We'll move this back, and you can see that these all exchange. But let's take a close look from a strategic standpoint as to how these changed. This black and red went over to here, but notice that the black that was in front of me ended up on the bottom here. This green and yellow went to here, but notice that the green that was on the bottom went to the top here. This blue and orange went over here, but notice that the blue on the top went to here. So that's going to be important, because we don't want to be in a situation where we end up with 2 out, or we end up with 2 that are in, but they just have to be flip-flopped. We can strategize to not end up with that. So the journey that this takes is what's in front of us goes to the bottom, what's on the bottom goes on the top, and what's on the top goes in front of us. So just bear that in mind. So I'm going to keep that here. If I were to do that algorithm again, just talking about the algorithms as I'm doing it, or saying it as I'm doing it, we've got an R, UI, RI. The back becomes our top, so we're going to move it like this, and the left becomes our front. So boom. We're just going to do R, U, I guess you can call that a 2U, R, or 2R, U, R, U, R, U, and R. Okay? So the next move, we'll put these back in. Green down here, blue up here, black over here. Okay, the next thing to look at is looking at our corners this corner here, this corner here. This is going to be the longest of the algorithms, but basically this is a rotational algorithm. This will rotate these corners. So here's how this is going to work. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with, now before when I did this algorithm, this long edge slash corner was in front of me. Now for the most of our next algorithms, this small wedge is going to be in front of us. So this is going to be a UI, R, UI. So we're going to be here, able to slice this. Now we're going to do an R, but we're going to do an R until we can do a U move. So obviously it's not going to be here, it's going to be all the way here. So R, and then do a U until we can do another R. So that's going to be U, then R, U, and then another R, and we stop here because we can do another U move. Once we do that, we now do a UI, because I don't want to do another U, because I don't want to use this one. I'm now going to call this a UI, and then just move it back down to an R until it's all back. Hold this in front of us, but we're not done. That was just one half of the algorithm. The good news is the second half is exactly the same algorithm. So we do it twice in order to get what we're going to get to, because the first time took these edges out of position while it rotated this. We're going to do it again to get these edges back, and it'll cause a similar rotation here. So once again, part 2, same as part 1. Second verse, same as the first. That's going to be UI, R, UI. Then we do a R, U, R, U, R. Now we do a UI and then R. What you're going to see now is these wedges all came back, but this corner piece, this rotated. Now these are out. We already took those out, so you can't really see it, but if we didn't, you'd see everything else is fine, everything else would be in. We just rotated this. And notice this rotated in the counterclockwise way, this rotated in a clockwise way, but it's always going to be rotating the same way in conjunction with this piece. So that's how we 3-cycle these long edges here, and that's how we rotate these small corners over here. The next algorithm, which is really the final algorithm, sort of, are these pieces here, and this is the easiest. This is simply going to be a sliding U technique, where this will go here, and this will go here. Now the reason why I do this last is because this also affects the corners, and it also affects the edges, I believe, here too. But we don't really care because we have ways of isolating these movements here. So that's going to be UI, R, U, now we do an LI, UI, RI, U, and L. So what that did is this green one went to here, this red one went to here, and this blue one went to here. Now it did cause a rotation here, as you see, but it doesn't really matter because we can isolate these. It didn't affect any of these other edges, just these over here. Now let's say I wanted to rotate this again because I'm actually scrambling it as I'm doing this. So we'll move this here, UI, R, U, I, R, U, R, U, R, UI, RI. Okay. Yeah, kind of line this up here too. So what if we did that again? U, UI, R, U, LI, UI, RI, UI, L. Okay, just to get the kind of scramble that I'm looking for. There's actually one other algorithm, and that's flipping these two corners, which means we put this corner here and this corner to here. This one is a little more complicated, but it starts off very similarly. So that's going to be starting off the same way. So this is flipping these two corners. It's UI, R, and U. And that actually put this corner here. To get this back, what we're going to do is what is on the bottom becomes our front, what is on the right becomes our top. So we go like boom right here. And now we just keep doing R, U, are you. And what that did is that flipped these guys over here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do another, it's interesting how that put that in. So I'm going to do some more algorithms here just to continue the process of scrambling. Okay, so this looks like a fairly good scrambled puzzle. What I'm going to do now is let's just go ahead and do the shape-shifting scramble. So I'm going to move this up here, and this just kind of have fun with. Do the best that you can. You're going to find that we're going to be pretty limited with how we scramble this puzzle. Pretty limited with emotions until pretty soon you're going to find that there's not much more that you can do, not much more motion that you can do. But what I'm looking for is I'm looking for configurations that might give people problems. And sometimes you'll get a scramble where you'll get it, and sometimes you won't, depending on how lucky or unlucky you are, depending on how much of a challenge that you want. But right now I'm just trying to separate out pieces. There we go. Move this here, and this wants to go over here. Okay, so there we go. So here's a nice scrambled insanity cube. What we're going to do is we're going to work backwards, but there's one step that we haven't gone over, which is getting it back to the cubic shape. And it's not as hard as you might think. Remember, these centers only rotated. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find what I can rotate and try to build as many sides as possible. So moving this around here, these guys line up. See if I can move this. If I can't, then I'll move this around. And this is more just intuitive. I'm not going to give specific algorithms for it, just kind of enjoy the process of getting it back into the cube shape. But what I'm doing is I'm trying to create sides. So this lines up over here. This doesn't move. So if I turn this around enough, this will start to move. So now I can create sides over here as well. So this is good here, although this doesn't like where it's at. Okay. What I'm also looking at is I'm seeing if these centers are pointing at each other. If so, then they're where they need to be. So if these three are pointing at each other, then these three should be doing the same thing. So I'm going to move this down here. These are pointing here. And now they're pointing at each other just like this. Okay, so I think the centers are lined up. We just have to move these guys. Okay, obviously this doesn't belong here. And this doesn't belong here. So if I move this here, this belongs to this side. So I'm going to turn this around and exchange it with, well, another piece, maybe this piece. Nope, none of these belong. So let's see, this doesn't belong here. So if I rotate this here, move this in, this belongs here. And now rotate this. It's really just a matter of exchanging pieces. This is a block that's in over here. So I've got a whole side, and then that joins this other side over here. That leaves this guy. So let's see if we can't line these up. All right, this seems to line up here, but this center does not. So what I want to do is I want to exchange it. This probably comes over to here. So what if I were to put this to another side that turns, double turn it out of the way, double turn this here, and then receive what I took out. And now this fits, so now let's move this out of the way, and let's see if this comes into this spot, and it does. So we've created this side, and now this moves down here. And now we have one that's out, and this is probably the biggest trouble that you might find yourself in, where you have one that's out. So what do I do about this? Well, in this particular situation, you're going to want to have it where it's not one that's out. By out, I mean it's rotated in conjunction with the center over here. So ultimately, my first step is I'm going to want to take this, and I want two of these to be rotated wrong with the center. So I want two out. I'm not going to use this, but ultimately what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it to here, because this is rotated wrong with this center and with this center. So I'm going to want one of these wedges to also be rotated wrong. I'm not going to use this. Believe it or not, I'm going to use something like this. So here's how we're going to do that to start off with. We're going to do an R move up to here. So you see this fits over here. And now I'm going to be swapping these guys. They're going to be involved, this and this. So we're going to do an R. And now I'm going to do a U move like this, which moves this wedge close to this. And I'm going to do another R move, which exchanges it like this, bang. So this now fits flush. And now this is caught on a side that's rotated wrong according to the center. Now I'm going to take this and simply move it back where this side is now correct. And now this is back over here. Now this was the original one that was rotated wrong. So you see now I have this side where both of these are rotated wrong with its center over here. So remember, this was the one that I originally started with. And doing that pattern, moving it up, so doing an R, U, and an R. Then I did, I think like a UI or something like that. To move this back, I now have this that's wrong. What I want to do next is I want to take the center and let's line the center up correctly. So that's going to be right over here, bang. So you can see this is all out. Now here's what my goal is going to be. Once again, I take this smaller wedge, the wedge that has 2, and I'm going to move that to my right. My overall goal is this is wrong in conjunction with this center. It's also wrong in conjunction with this center. So all I want to do is I want to take this piece here and move it to here. That's what I want to do. You may say, well, why do that? Because when I have it wrong in conjunction with this center, with this large wedge, it kind of limits how I move this. However, if I do it with this center in conjunction with this wedge, this smaller part of this wedge, I can move it much easier. So here's how this is going to work. This ultimately is going to make it over to here. So I'm going to minimize motions to not take too many out with these other sides as I put it back in. So hold it here with this to the top. We're going to do a R. So you can see this fits over here. And now I'm going to take this wedge and move it in this spot. So R, U. So I've recreated this side. And now I'm going to do an RI to move it back. So this is now untouched. So remember, this is the wedge that we're dealing with. So, and we want to move it to here. So now we move this on top, and I want to move this to here. And the way that that's going to work is I'm going to do an R, just enough to move this in a position where this side will turn. I'm going to move this down. I'm going to do a 2U, just like this, to line this up. What I'm now going to do is I need to get this to here. We're going to do this R, do a 2R, 2U, 2R, 2U. Okay, that moves this up here. I'm now going to do another 2R, so I can take this, move this into here, which will put it back in. And then basically this is recreated. I'm going to do an R move until this side is all done. What's going to happen is that this side now has these two that are out, and that's what I'm looking for, this particular configuration. So with this particular configuration, now that this has been recreated, is I'm going to hold it on this side. Now this long wedge is to my right, and there's no way to mess this up. All you've got to do at this point is to keep exchanging this. This belongs here, this belongs, well, actually this belongs here, and this belongs here. So I'm just going to move this up like so, double turn this here, move this back into this slot because that's where it belongs, move this to here, move this to here in its slot, move this back to here, move this up, which puts this into this slot, and move this over here. And then you'll get it back. Now notice I didn't do much in the way of algorithms. If you want an algorithm, just look closely at what I did. But basically you can't go wrong. If you just keep moving it around, you'll get it. But I invite you to just kind of play with it. You don't want every aspect of a solve with a puzzle like this to be mired with algorithms. And the thing about getting it back into its cubic form from its shape-shifted form is that's the part for you to just play along with it, play around with it. So I don't want you to think that a tutorial is every aspect is to be described. Just the parts that you can't really use much intuition with. Okay, so now we go ahead and do the actual solve. Let me just do something here. Okay. All right, so the first thing to do is look at our centers and look at our corners. Is this the right corner for the center? Well, I see black, orange, and green. That's not these colors. Black, orange, and green is here. So the first algorithm is to get these corners swapped. So let's do that algorithm that we mentioned. So it's going to be UI R U. This is now back in here. And now we turn this in this direction here and do R U R and then U. So now these are back in. Okay, having done that, we now want to put in these guys. So this is already in, this is already in. I have two that are in. So let's see what needs to be positioned. I can move this blue into here. Blue to here, red to here, black to here. I can't do much repositioning because it'll take myself out of the cubic form and I won't be able to do the algorithms. But let's just move this into place. So that's going to be our sliding U technique. U, UI, R, U, LI, U, I, RI, U, L. Okay, that puts that in here. So we now have 3 to go, I think. This and this and this. Okay, so let's see what needs to happen. Now, more often than not, you're not going to find it in a configuration that you're going to be able to use. So you're going to have to strategize. So this is the fun part. If I hold it here, this green will go here, this red will go here. I would rather that red not be here. I'd rather it be a blue, but that blue is already here, already spoken for. And I would rather this be a black. So what if I coordinated it to where this black went to here? So if this black went to here, and I'd have to get a green one and I'd have to get the blue one here. So if I hold it like this, this black will go here, this blue will go here, which is what I want, and this red will go here, and the red one will be in. So that's how we strategize that. So let's go ahead and do that algorithm. UI R, U, LI, UI, RI, U, L. Okay, did it fulfill what I wanted? Well, this is in and this is in. And if I look at it over here, this green will come into here, this blue will go here, and this black will go here. So the fun thing about that is that you can actually apply some strategy with that as you're doing positioning. It's like a game of chess where you have to position things on the board before you go for the kill. So now we go ahead and do that algorithm again. UI R, U, LI, UI, RI, U, L. And what you'll find is these guys are back in. So these guys have been solved. So understand, I just had to decide where to put what I wanted if it wasn't where I needed it. Do the algorithm in a different way, in a different position, put it in, and then make your move. So it's positioning things on the board. Next is rotating this. So to rotate this, these are in the right place, and there's only one way to rotate it, so we'll go ahead and do that algorithm. And that's going to be UI, R, UI. This is in place here, so now we do R, U, R, U, R. We're over here, so we do UI, R. Now that was just one half of the algorithm. We immediately do it again. So UI, R, UI. Now R, U, R, U, R. Now UI and R. Okay, so one more, we'll do a clockwise rotation, so we do it again. UI, R, UI, R, U, R, U, R, UI, R. And now we go ahead and do it again. UI, R, UI. Now R, U, R, U, R, UI, R. So now we see these have been rotated. We just have to do these. So let's strategize with this. Let's see what we have to do. This is going to end up down here. Then it's going to end up here, which we like. This is going to end up here. Then it's going to end up here, which we don't like. So if I do that algorithm, this green will end up here, then it'll end up here, which will be upside down. So I know that's not the direction that I want. So let's try a different perspective. This will end up down here, which we like. This green will end up here, which, once again, we don't like. So let's try a different perspective. This orange will end up down here, which we like. This black will end up here, which we don't like. So let's try a different perspective. This blue will end up here, then we'll end up here, which, again, we don't like. So my thinking is this. None of them are going to be in with the next move, but we may be able to position it better after the next move. It'll take 2 moves to do it anyway. So it's going to be R, UI, RI. Move it up here. R, U, R, U, R, U, R, U, R. Okay, so now let's see where we're at. This black will go here, or rather this red will go here and then here, which we like. This blue will go here and then here, which we don't like. All right, so this black will go here, which we don't like. This green will go here, which we don't like. This blue will go here, which we like. This green will go here, which we like. This red will go here, which we like. So in that way, we can strategize. This is where the final part of the strategy comes from, is we can decide how we're going to do this algorithm to make it work so we don't end up with 2 out. Blue will go down here, which is what we want. Green will go up here, which is what we want. Red will go here. So one more roll of the algorithm. R, UI, LI. RI rather. You can see this is already in. Move this to the top. R, U, R, U, R, U, R, U, and R, and it's done. So, puzzle is solved. That's about all the kinds of algorithms and trials and tribulations that this puzzle is going to give you. So what have we learned about this kind of a puzzle? What can we walk away with this? Well, this is more like a lock and key kind of a puzzle, where you get a similar satisfaction if you find a key, put it in the lock, turn the lock, and open up the door. There's a degree of satisfaction. This is basically a trick. You learn the tricks and you can solve this puzzle. There's not a whole lot of strategy. There's a couple of them. The fun part is figuring out the algorithms, but also playing around with it to get it back into the cubic shape and then strategizing with those algorithms. Now, I certainly prefer puzzles where the majority of it is the strategy aspect, where the algorithms are just a tool to use, the key to the lock, so to speak, but then you use strategy with the algorithms to get it where you want it, or else you might end up stuck. But other than that, it has a nice mix of both. It's a fun puzzle to figure out. Once you've done it, there really isn't much more to it than that, except maybe finding variations that might change your perspective with this. But certainly a worthy puzzle, worthy addition to collection. And again, keep inside. Thanks for watching.